Hello, everybody, and welcome to the United Stand. It is the 10 a.m. show on a Monday morning this time. I got it wrong last time. I've not got it wrong this time. It is Monday morning, and we've got some news. We've got a really great article coming out from The Athletic regarding Ronaldo, what Ten Hag's plans is for Ronaldo, what Ronaldo's plans are for himself, what he would like to do, and how they conflict, and also about the board perhaps not doing what we're going to want them to do in January. And I think the rumours are true. Manchester United do not want to spend any money in January, despite the fact we desperately need to. So we're going to go onto that as well. And also, the rumours around Jeremy Frimpong are heating up. And the right-back situation, we know that we need one. And Erik Ten Hag really likes his player. Could he be a potential move on the cards? And how does that affect Diogo Dalot? Does it affect him in a negative way? Does it affect him in a positive way? We'll get your comments in on that as well and get your guys' thoughts. But good morning, everyone, and welcome to the show. I hope you've had a great morning so far and your week continues well as well. So make sure you like and subscribe and let's get into it. We've got Ronaldo news from The Athletic, and we're starting off with the fact Ten Hag is adamant he wants Ronaldo as an option for the rest of the season, but first wants to hear what the Portuguese thinks about the situation and whether he can countenance not being a starter every week. So on that, it seems like to me that Ten Hag wants Ronaldo. Obviously, he's going to want Ronaldo, and this is what I've been trying to say for a long time with people misunderstanding me. But Ronaldo perhaps isn't going to want a bit part role. I was having a conversation with my dad actually yesterday, and my dad's obviously a massive Ronaldo fan, as am I. And my dad was kind of on the side of Roy Keane in the fact that Ronaldo should be playing in this team every week. He's a GOAT of the game. He's the greatest of all time. He hasn't had a chance to play in a team that Ten Hag is developing to this level. If you put him in a really good team like we're developing into now, then Ronaldo's going to get goals. He's going to get more goals than Rashford. He is at that kind of poacher where he will score them chances that Rashford had. And he was on the side where Ronaldo, he thinks, can still massively do a job for us, where I was kind of saying, personally for me, I think he's had a lot of opportunities this season and he's not been scoring as many goals as we want. He came back and said, is anyone not allowed to have a bout of poor form? The poor form, yeah, it has been, but also Erik Ten Hag is dropping him out of the team as well. So he obviously doesn't maybe see him as someone that's going to make the team tick. But me, myself, is Ronaldo a player that I think could definitely play a part in this team? 100%. He's a brilliant player. I just think personally, Ronaldo is not going to be playing 90 minutes every single game. And I think that's what Ronaldo wants. If he's not the star, if he's not the starter, if he's not the star of the team, I feel like he doesn't feel as important and he feels like he should be that because of everything he's achieved. And 100% he has achieved what most players can't even dream of achieving, what he has achieved in the game. He's a brilliant player. But for me personally, like at Chelsea, I think he would have been such a good option. First half, you could tell Rashford wasn't really doing it. Bring Ronaldo on. I think that could have won us the game. At Spurs, he wasn't necessarily needed. I thought Rashford had a really good game. And the way we played suited the way Spurs played. So in certain games, he's going to suit. In certain games, he isn't going to suit. So for me personally, it's like Ronaldo is going to have to accept not playing every single game. Whether he can accept that is a different story, in my opinion. It's like the Newcastle game, definitely think he did a good job. Everton game, played well, scored a good goal. Tottenham game, I don't think he was needed for the way we were playing. It was very pressing football. The way Fred was pressing, the way the fullbacks were pressing, the way Bruno Fernandes was pressing, the way Rashford was pressing. That wasn't built for Ronaldo. But in a game like against Chelsea, with the amount of chances we were having and the amount of possession we had, 100%, I think he definitely could have made an impact and could have won us the game in that situation. So the reason he wasn't available for that is because he couldn't take getting benched. So it's whether he's going to accept that role and take it on. I personally don't think he will. I think we had an interview with Melissa Reddy earlier on in the year, and Melissa was saying she doesn't know if Ronaldo can accept the fact he's not the star of the team anymore and he's not going to be the main man in that team, whether he can accept that role as still being involved but just not being what he used to be. So I'm not sure. I think this is where the confusion is coming from Erik Ten Hag and Cristiano Ronaldo, and why they are clashing is because Ten Hag sees a different role for Ronaldo than what Ronaldo probably sees. And people in the comments saying, here we go with the pressing nonsense. Personally, for me, I don't think Ronaldo presses as well as what we should be doing. I don't think Rashford presses as well as what we should be doing. But what Rashford does do is he makes brilliant runs through the lines and in behind because of his pace. And Ronaldo can't do that anymore because he doesn't have the pace. Personally, for me, I like a pacey striker, but he can still definitely work in different games in certain scenarios. So yeah, totally agree with you, Beth. Thank you. See, everyone's got different opinions, and there's going to be people that are all for Ronaldo because of everything that he's done, and I respect everything that Ronaldo's done. One of my favourite players, but also there's a time where you look at that team and you have to realise we have picked up more points without him. We have played better football without him. Do I think he can still play a massive role this season if he stayed? Absolutely. Is he going to accept that? Probably not. So it just depends on what happens. And I think it's going to happen pretty quickly. And another quote coming out is January is shaping up to be a quiet month for MUFC, and signing a replacement for Ronaldo is not on the agenda unless a low-cost emergency solution can be found. So that, for me, reading that this morning was so disappointing, because this weekend I actually started to really believe that Manchester United can get top four. And the reason I started to believe that is we got a few results in our favour. Obviously, Forest beat Liverpool. Arsenal drew with Southampton, and despite Arsenal being further ahead in us, I still think they're in a top four race with us. I really do. I don't think they'll slip off like people are saying, but I still think City are the definite winners of the league. And you also had Spurs losing again. I mean, Newcastle are dangerous as well, but Spurs, you would say, with the firepower that they have in Kane and Son, it's more important that they're dropping points at this point in the season and having Conte as manager. So there was results going our way. The draw to Chelsea, which I personally think we should have won that game. It was disappointing we didn't win, but the fact that we're consistently playing good football against top sides is really, really nice to see. You can see where Ten Hag is taking this team. You can see where we're developing to. You can see that over the course of this season, we're definitely going to win games. I mean, Liverpool we've beat, Arsenal we've beat, Spurs we've beat, Chelsea we've drawn to. City are just a different animal. So that game, we still managed to get 3 goals back, and Varane did come off injured very early on after 1 goal went in. I mean, it was a poor performance, but Ten Hag will learn from that. I definitely think the way this team is playing, the fact that last season it would be like man of the match for Bruno Fernandes for a brilliant outside the foot cross from outside the box, or Rashford for making that running behind and scoring. Like the fact it was always a moment, or Greenwood for scoring out of nothing. The fact it was always a moment that was man of the match. And then when we won games, but this year I'm struggling to pick man of the matches. I struggled to pick a man of the match for the draw against Chelsea because the team is playing well as a collective. So you can see that we're developing. And we spoke about it before. I think I was watching the fan forum last night, and I think you were speaking about it a little bit there, but I'll just add what I would think on this. Chelsea are definitely going to spend money. 100%. Graham Potter's going to want money to spend in January because none of them signings are actually his. He's going into the job that would have been already cleared up. And Todd Bowley's going to want to do that. Like, we know he wants to spend money on players that are going to make the team stand out. He wanted to buy Ronaldo in the summer. He's not short of spending money. He spent 250 million and then sacked the manager a week later. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's going to spend money. Newcastle, especially if they are in the race for the top 4, are going to spend money. Why, if you're the Newcastle owners with billions and billions of pounds, why would you not spend money in January? And Eddie Howe has gotten to a brilliant position, and they're probably further up in the league than they even expected at this point. 100% further up in the league than what they would have expected. They are going to spend money. You've got Manchester City, who are they don't even need to spend money. They're the best team in the league by quite a bit. Arsenal, if they're still doing really well, Arteta, we know how kind of pushy he would be with the board to spend money. They potentially might spend money. I mean, if they're still close to top of the league, they're definitely going to have to do something to try and push them there. So all of these teams around us, I would assume Liverpool are going to have to spend money. I mean, I know their owners are very, very tight, but in the position they're in now, they need something. They desperately need a midfielder, and that desperately. So you look at all them teams and you think, especially with the World Cup being on, Romano's come on the show previously and said it's going to be a very, very different January. It's going to be very, very different. I think there's going to be teams that are spending money a lot more than what it usually is. And the fact Man United set up in summer straight away to say that they're going to have a quiet summer, not a quiet summer, to say that they're going to have a quiet January, and the fact that even next year we're not going to spend as much as we have this year in the summer, it was a one-off. The fact they said they're going to focus their attention onto the summer so quickly, getting the news out there. And now it's coming out again through a very, very good source. I mean, Laurie Whittle and David Ornstein from The Athletic are very, very good journalists. And it's again saying that January is going to be quiet and sign a replacement is not on the agenda. If Ronaldo leaves, do not get me wrong, we have to sign someone. Have to. We can't go into the rest of the season with just Rashford and Martial. That would, it's not an option. But it's just who we sign, because I don't want, and Eric Ten Hag doesn't want either, to just sign a player for the sake of it. Eric Ten Hag has made it abundantly clear that he only wants players in that are the right players and players that are going to play for this football club. Players that he knows are going to play, players that he can coach, players he can develop, players that fit his system. That's why in the summer, remember when the news started coming out about an out-of-age Rabiot and loads of different names, he wanted De Jong. He was so adamant on that. We ended up getting Casemiro. He obviously saw a player in Casemiro. Obviously, you would see a player in Casemiro. And when that got pitched to him, I bet he was like, yeah, I will take Casemiro, Champions League winner, one of the best centre defensive midfielders in world football. Yeah, I will take him. So Eric Ten Hag is going to be picky, but I saw a rumour coming out about the Chicago Fire striker yesterday. And with him, I just think it would be something that Manchester United would probably do. And the reason they would do it is because it's someone cheap and it's someone that they can get in and kind of mould because of how young he is. But if he's not good enough for the Premier League, what is the point of going for him? I'd so much rather just either spend more money on someone that's going to be right for Eric Ten Hag and is going to be the future, or I don't even know, maybe try and bring someone up through the academy. But then, I mean, Adam spoke about how good Charlie McNeil's doing. I think Charlie McNeil is a brilliant striker, but whether he's ready to come up and play Premier League football is a different story. I don't think that's going to happen this season. So it's like Manchester United are in a difficult situation if they're refusing to spend any money. Personally, for me, I would be trying to get Ivan Toney in January. I generally do think you could get him out of Brentford if you paid the right fee. We're not going to spend that money though, unfortunately. So I just don't want like another Igalo type signing. And I'm not saying that if you get someone cheap, it has to be someone that's poor. I'm not saying that at all, but I do think it's risky, especially when Eric Ten Hag, it's been reported numerous times, he wants a striker that is going to be part of his team for this rebuild and for his era. I think you need to get someone in for that is going to come in straight away and start firing, especially in the position we are now, especially if Ronaldo goes. We need someone that guarantees goals. So, I mean, if they scout well and get an emergency signing that ends up being really, really, really good, then fair enough. But we know it's gone wrong many times for Manchester United before when they've just panicked and pressed the emergency panic button and got someone in who's cheap. We've seen how many times it's gone wrong for us. So it's going to shape up to be, we could lose top four based on the January transfer window. As negative as that sounds, I don't want to be negative, but we could do easily. And I just don't want to see that happen. And hopefully Eric Ten Hag pushes, and hopefully if Ronaldo does leave, there is different plans in place to get another striker in. So we'll have to see. Doogie Yoon says, I don't think Brenton will sell Toney in January when they are doing well. Yeah, Brentford though, it might be one that we have to wait till summer for. You are right, but Brentford are a selling team, and if the money is really, really good, why not? Like, if the money's good, then why not? I mean, it's not as if they've got no other options. They've got other players that can score goals. I mean, Thomas Frank wouldn't be happy about it, that's for sure. But if they needed the money, then I mean, I think we definitely could get him out of there. Ronaldo didn't enjoy playing with our current midfielders such as Fred and Bruno. Their play style is not very exciting. I don't think that's true. I think it does. I think it's frustrating for him when Fred's in a really brilliant position and doesn't and plays a really poor pass and doesn't manage to get the ball. I think stuff like that's frustrating. But we're playing better as a team now. So if he plays in this team, maybe he gets more chances and scores more. So it's whether he gets that chance under Ten Hag after his behaviour. I think he will. I expect him to play at Sheriff. And I think Ten Hag will start a very strong team against Sheriff, 100%. He'll be wanting to win that Europa League group, definitely. Luke Tasker says, look at the running stats with and without Ronaldo. The team runs 10k extra per game without him. That's the equivalent of an extra man. Thank you. I saw them on Sky yesterday, and this is what I'm trying to get through to people. The team is running more without Ronaldo. The team is playing better without Ronaldo. People saying these pressing stats are useless. I personally think the pressing is better without Ronaldo, and I think we run more without Ronaldo, but that doesn't mean I don't like the player. Matty Ross, hi Beth, just joined. Thoughts on Vlahovic move? Don't think it'll happen. I think it was a good signing for Juventus. They're not doing that well, to be honest with you, Juventus. I don't think it'll happen. I think he was going to maybe join Arsenal, I think it was last year. I would tell you who I would absolutely love, and we're going a little bit off topic here. I would absolutely love Victor Osimhen. Again, a player that I just don't think is gettable. I think he's got a long time left in his contract at Napoli. Napoli doing very well in the Champions League. They're doing very well in the league. So I don't think that's something that could happen soon. But what a striker he is as well. And let me just look up how old he is as well, Victor Osimhen, because I think he's quite young as well. And he is playing so well. And if any of you guys saw his goal, I think it was yesterday. He's 23 years old. If any of you guys saw his goal yesterday when he absolutely had Chris Smalling on toast, got past him and then put it in the back of the net from like the side of the pitch, it was absolutely brilliant. So I think Victor Osimhen is someone I would absolutely love to see at Manchester United. He's everything we would need. He's athletic, he's fast, he's good at running with the ball, he's got a brilliant strike, he can head the ball, he's a poacher. He's literally got everything. He's 23, he's young. I think if you put Victor Osimhen in that Manchester United team that has played against Spurs and Chelsea, that are creating chances and playing really well, I think we score so many more goals. And that is what Manchester United is seriously crying out for. I think he is brilliant. And get in your comments what you think as well. Suzanne Brandon says, we also need a centre-back in January as we need someone better to play with Martinez whilst Varane is injured. To be honest with you, I think Varane is going to be back. I saw this morning that he's out for 3 weeks, so he might make it to the World Cup. If he does, then I'm hoping he doesn't get injured again. And if he doesn't, then he's got even more time to recover and be back for the second half of the season. So I don't necessarily think it's a necessity that we get a centre back in. With the run of games we've got, I think we'll be okay with Victor Lindelof. Don't clip that, but I think in the summer, it's definitely something to look at because I don't really trust Maguire at all to come in. Victor Lindelof, I think he's good. I don't think he's brilliant. So I do think we need another centre back. I agree, but January I think is a bit of a stretch. I think we have to focus all of our attention on getting a goal scorer because that is what we are seriously lacking. Someone says no way Osimhen leaves in January. I don't even think he'll leave in summer. Never mind January. I'm just saying how much I rate the player because I think he's someone that I would want to be looking at in the future 100%. He looks brilliant. Solid Blake says, Beth, would you take Mitrovic? I would take him, to be honest with you. Yeah, but I don't think it's going to be a number 9 for the future that's going to be starting every single game for us. I think it'd be a good option, definitely, but I don't think it's someone that is the answer, if you know what I mean. Is the answer for the future. I do think he's really good though, and I would take him 100%. Jonathan David, I'm excited to see Jonathan David in the World Cup, if I'm honest with you. Don't really watch much of Ligue 1, seen a few highlights, so I'm not going to pretend like I know loads about him. But I've heard he's scoring a lot of goals. I've seen he's scoring a lot of goals. I've looked at his stats for a show that me and Charlie did. They're very good. And he's a young player as well, so we'll have to see him in the World Cup for Canada. I think that's going to be a proper test for him. So I'll have to see. But moving on, because we've got a bit off topic there talking about strikers, but get in the comments actually who you would want as a realistic option. I mean, Gakpo is another one, isn't it? But people complaining he's not an out-and-out number 9, which I completely understand. We need an out-and-out number 9. Like Osimhen compared to, I'm not saying we're going to get Osimhen, but Osimhen compared to Gakpo, we're completely different types of players. And I would prefer to go to more of an Osimhen type player than a Gakpo, but I think Gakpo is brilliant and would be a good addition. But yeah, Ivan Toney for me, I think he's the perfect option. Strong, quick, athletic, can score goals, great set pieces, great penalties, and is 25 coming into his prime now. also has played Premier League football, so doesn't need time to adapt. I think he would be perfect, but we'll have to wait and see. We've not even been linked to him, I think, once in the press, so I don't know if it's someone we are actually looking at. And then moving on to more quotes coming out from The Athletic, a really, really good article on their page, actually. And it says, whether Ronaldo would sacrifice the remaining 6 months of his MUFC salary is a significant question. An alternative could be United coming to an agreement with him over his owed wage, negotiating a one-off sum. But in reality, this is a remote possibility. So again, this just seems a desperate solution to part ways, to be honest with you. Whether Ronaldo would sacrifice the remaining 6 months of salary is a significant question. To be honest with you, he doesn't need the money, but again, you wouldn't expect a player in any circumstance to sacrifice a salary that they're getting paid very, very well in. He doesn't need the money though, clearly. So if football is more important, so maybe he would do that. And I don't think United would come to an agreement over an owed wage. I think if we're paying him, he stays at the club 100%. So I don't think that happens. And then again, European clubs were informed Ronaldo was willing to take a pay cut to leave last summer, but no Champions League sides made a proposal to buy him. In the summer, MUFC wanted a fee, but now they would allow a free transfer subject to his contract being mutually terminated. So on this, again, no club wants to pay the wage that we're paying. That's completely understandable. He's not producing right now for what he's getting paid. And the reason no clubs came into him, this seems like no Champions League clubs, is because we wanted a fee. No one was going to pay a fee when he's on them wages. It just wasn't going to happen. So we basically blocked the move for him. We did block the move. And it's one of them where we should have just let him go for free in the summer, potentially. But we have him now. For the remaining time we've got him, I would like to use him to the best of our ability. I definitely think there's a place for him, especially in the fact we're not scoring enough goals. So whether he goes in January, I think he will. And I think to get him kind of just for him to leave the club and not do it on a sour note, hopefully he can get a couple goals before he leaves and it ends on a good note. But I think free transfer is an absolute obvious it's going to happen. And to be honest with you, I think it's a lesson for United to just realise when a player really is pushing to leave the club, you should let them go. It's never going to work out well. And Ronaldo, we've heard about how much of an ultimate professional he is off Romano, off players, off coaches. Like, he's an ultimate professional, and it's even not worked out in this case. If a player wants to leave the club, it's very, very rare that things turn themselves around. I mean, I think Bernardo Silva for City is a rare case. He wanted to leave, I think, to go back to Spain, and he's put in performance after performance for them. That's ultimately having Pep Guardiola as a manager for years upon years. He set the standards there, and he set a culture, and he set an identity. Erik Ten Hag is in the process of doing that right now. And we had it with Jesse Lingard. He wanted to leave. We rejected 20 million to have him stay, and then didn't use him once. Then ended up going on a free transfer. The player and the club weren't happy about what had happened. It's happened time and time again. We've kept Pogba when he's wanted to leave, and it's just not worked out. Ronaldo is a different kettle of fish. He's a brilliant player who is the ultimate professional, but it still hasn't worked. I feel like the club should have maybe looked at that more clearly in the summer. And I think this is a lesson for the future. And it also has put Ten Hag under a little bit of unwanted scrutiny, I would say, at the start of the season. I think all the fans are behind Ten Hag. Well, most of the fans are behind Ten Hag and are really happy with the way he's dealt with this. But at the start of a managerial career, it's just something you don't want to be dealing with. So I think it is time maybe for Ronaldo to move on in January. It has to be a free transfer for him to go. I think Man United will allow that. As the Athletics say, they would allow a free transfer subject to contract being mutually terminated. And I think that's what is going to happen. So Ten Hag will then have full control over that dressing room. It's a fresh start. And hopefully Ronaldo goes on to score goals elsewhere, whether it's in the Champions League or not. And both parties end up being happy. So we'll have to see what happens with that. And then just before we move on to the right back news, Erik Ten Hag wants to hear whether Ronaldo can countenance not being a starter he should and accept flexibility. He's expected to rejoin the first team training. If he rejects it and presses to leave again, Ten Hag would allow him to explore finding a new club. So again, Ten Hag wants Ronaldo as a bit part player. This makes kind of makes me feel like. He wants to be able to use Ronaldo, but he doesn't really see him as a week in, week out starter. Whether Ronaldo can accept that, he comes back into the team, Erik Ten Hag plays him. If he doesn't accept that and presses to leave, he leaves in January. Personally, I think he's going to leave in January. I don't think he'll accept that. He believes he's the best still. He wants to score as many goals as he can before the end of his career. And if that's what he wants to do, he should leave. I was saying yesterday, I completely understand that Ronaldo wants to score goals. He wants to break records. I get it. But as a club, we should not be sacrificing our team performances to get Ronaldo's record, to help get Ronaldo's records and help kind of an individual player, if you know what I mean. Like, if Ronaldo can do that at a different club, absolutely. But hey, we need to do what's best for Man United. And if it's Ronaldo not playing, we can't just think about the individuals and what their stats are and what that means for their records and stuff like that. So I think he will end up leaving. I don't think he will accept that flexibility. If he could do, I think he'd still... This is the thing. This is what I wish could happen. I so wish Ronaldo could accept this bit part role, because I think he'd be such a key figure, such a good influence in the dressing room. We know how much of a good influence he is on the younger players and how much he tries to help them. We know how much he's helped Anthony since he's joined. Obviously, what he did at Spurs wasn't the right example to set, but in general, in training, he's such a good example. He's someone brilliant to learn off for the younger players. He's got great leadership. He knows every situation. He's been in every situation. He's been in Champions League finals. He's won everything there is to win, near enough, apart from a World Cup. He's been in these situations before, so he'd be so good to have around, and someone to scare the opposition, to bring off the bench in the last 20 minutes of a game. Someone that definitely can make an impact and give us something different. I just don't think he can handle the bit part role, which is unfortunate. Canal Specielli says, selling Sancho, get Gakpo and buy a striker. We're absolutely not gonna buy. We're definitely not going to sell Sancho. I would say on that. Do I think Sancho's performances have been extremely poor as of late? Yes. Do I think the Chelsea game was his worst one? Yes. Have we seen consistently good games from Sancho since he joined 2 years ago? No. Is this worrying me? Very much so. Do I think there's a player there? Yes. I think with Sancho, it's such a weird one, because I know that there's a player there. I mean, I was looking at his performances for Dortmund yesterday. I was on TikTok and I saw this page posting his performances for Dortmund, like his highlights and stuff. And I know it's a poorer league and the opposition are poorer, but come on, the drop-off is ridiculous. We're playing for Dortmund, he was unbelievable. He was beating players left, right and centre. He was making brilliant crosses. He was scoring good goals. I mean, he's scored a few good goals for us, but I just don't see him take players on. Don't see him running at anyone. Don't see him being creative. He either turns back or puts us into a spot of danger with a really, really bad pass. And then I never see him like going for a challenge, really. Like, I don't ever see him at 100% like pace. I don't know with him. I don't know if it's a lack of confidence or what's going on. I really do think there's a player there, and hopefully it'll come out under Ten Hag. But at the moment, he's not good enough. Absolutely not good enough. So we'll have to see what happens on that, because Anthony's come in and made an impact, and Sancho's not made that impact in his whole 2 years here. So I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens with Sancho. But I hope this is just a bad spell of form. Maybe he drops out the team for a bit. He comes back, and I think with Sancho, I think once he gets going, that'll be it. I just don't think he's got going yet. So we'll have to see. And moving on to right back rumours as well. I know we spoke a lot about Sancho on the fan forum last night and whether we should swap wings or what his development is. So I'll leave that there. But moving on to the right back developments for a new right back. MUFC have sent scouts more than 3 times to watch Leverkusen's Jeremy Frimpong. They know him very well. United and 3 more clubs are following him, and that is coming from Fabrizio Romano. Struggled to pronounce Leverkusen there, but we got there in the end. So Jeremy Frimpong, right back. I saw Mark talking about this on a show the other day. I've also seen a lot of him on through people that I know, and I trust their opinions very well on European football and the way they kind of see the game. And this player seems like a very, very good player. He seems like he's going to be a great up-and-coming right back. And I think he's a player that is gettable. I do think he'll cost more than what we would ideally want to spend we were thinking a backup right back. But personally, for me, this player, I mean, 21 years old, which is brilliant. That's what we want. We want players coming in similar to Malacia that are going to be young and going to be players for the future. But Frimpong, for me, I think he'd want to play first team football. Personally, I think he's playing very, very well at Leverkusen. We know, again, the German league sometimes can be one that doesn't always be successful in the Premier League when players come from there. Let's just put it that way. But I think he's a player that can come in and definitely challenge Diogo Dalot to a spot in the starting 11. And that's what we want. We want players challenging for places. And I think Dalot's doing extremely well at the minute. And it shows how good, well, it's not. It shows how much confidence he kind of has in Dalot, that he's playing week in, week out, and his performances haven't really dipped either. And that shows a great mentality from Diogo Dalot, because Luke Shaw obviously knows if his performances dip, Malacia is there to come in. Dalot knows that he's going to have to play every single week, but still he gives absolutely everything. That's what I expect from all Manchester United players, but I just think it's such a good example. So I think we definitely need competition down the right-hand side. Get in the comments down below as well what you think. Do you think a right back is a position that we need to strengthen immediately? For me, I think it is, because if Dalot gets injured, you're looking at either Brandon Williams or Victor Lindelof in that spot, because I think Wan-Bissaka is going to end up going in January, and Wan-Bissaka isn't fit anyway. He's been injured for quite a long time. So I think we have to go and get a right back. I just don't know whether Frimpong is maybe, I'm not going to say too good, because you always want players that are going to come in and be brilliant players. You want the best players. But with Dalot, I think he's playing so well. I want him to be our starting right back. Absolutely. I think he's turning into such a good player. The way he can handle the ball at his feet, the way he handles his wingers now with such confidence, and he you can tell he believes he's going to get the best of them every single time, and most of the time he is doing that. And if he knows he can get forward, he gets forward. If he knows he needs to invert, he inverts. His passing has been great. He's a big key factor in why we're passing out from the back very well. So I think Dalot deserves to keep his spot at starting right back. But this Frimpong, I mean, going forward, he's very, very good. And I think he's definitely someone that's going to challenge Diogo Dalot highly. So maybe you'd see the best come out, even more come out of Diogo Dalot if we did get in someone like that, which would be great. Because, I mean, if you look at Dalot, let me just check. I think Dalot is 23. Frimpong is 21 years old. Let's see how old Dalot is. He is 23 years old. I mean, the fact Dalot's still 23, I think he's so exciting. Dalot, it feels like he's been here for ages. I know we got him really young, and Mourinho was saying he's going to be the best right back that there is in the future. And Mourinho hasn't been wrong that many of the time. Dalot isn't at that point yet, but at 23 years old, to be putting the performances that he is doing, I think is exciting for Manchester United. Really, really exciting. He's also said that he wants to carry on at Man United. He wants a new contract there, despite interest from Barcelona, which I love. Sometimes players, when they've been playing really well and they're in last year of the contract, will look for that move. And Barcelona is an attractive club to go to, don't get me wrong. But then Ten Hag and Dalot have a very good relationship. From the minute Ten Hag came in, Romano was always reporting on this show that he was really excited to work with Diogo Dalot, and that they were working together really well. Dalot's massively improved. I think the only thing he can maybe add to his game is a slight bit more consistency. But he's been one of the standout players every single week. So I think him on that right-hand side is so important for us. And the link up with Anthony is getting better. It's still not anywhere where it needs to be, but it's getting better. But we do need a right back just in case, because I think he's so crucial to us. And I don't think Victor Lindelof or Brandon Williams can do a job in that right back role. And I think we need Wan-Bissaka to kind of move on. And I don't know if the club will allow him to move on before we do have a replacement there for him, which is understandable, but he's just not going to work under Erik Ten Hag. The thing is, for me, it's like you look at Wan-Bissaka and the way he moves with the football, the way he is with the ball at his feet, and you compare it to Dalot, it's just completely different. How well he's been playing out from the back recently. that has been coached very, very well, but there's only certain players that can do that. And I don't think Wan-Bissaka can, if I'm being honest with you. So, yeah, I think we need to get another right back in. This seems like one that we are going for, definitely going to go for, and are scouting quite highly. And I think it's someone Ten Hag really, really likes. Obviously, a Dutch player, which Ten Hag seems to be linked to quite a lot. And we'll see what happens to him with the national team as well, because I think he's definitely kind of making strides in that direction. So we'll have to see what happens. But ultimately, January, if we're not going to be spending that much money, I personally would prioritise a striker, even though we're in desperate need of a right back, which shows how thin our squad actually is right now. We're a few injuries away from losing this momentum, I feel like, as a team. We're not at the point yet of an elite team like Manchester City, where anyone can get injured and they still play the same way and they can still manage to win games. I think some certain players in our team are so important to us. I did think Martial was one. He's injured. We've managed to kind of get round it, but I do think we'd be so much better without him. Varane's definitely one. Martinez is definitely one. Dallo is definitely one now. Even Luke Shaw. I mean, you've got Marcia, so it's not as bad. But I think a midfielder, even Shaw, like a box-to-box midfielder. So we still need signings, and the squad is still thin. But ultimately, Ten Hag's doing a very, very good job with this team, and it'll be interesting to see how much money we do spend in January and whether we actually do push for them top 4 spots, and we do kind of see other teams around us making their moves, and we manage to do it as well. I hope that we do. And it'll be interesting to see if Ronaldo starts against Sheriff or if he plays. I think he will play. Whether he starts, I don't know. I assume he will start. And I think it'll be good to kind of just brush all of this under the carpet now and move on. He's apologised. Move on with it. And hopefully there'll be no more disturbances. And this is a lesson to be learned. But whether he can still be a player in Eric Ten Hag's team, we'll have to wait and see. I think he definitely can. And I think Ten Hag thinks that too. The way he's been speaking about Ronaldo in press conferences, the reports that are coming in, I think Ten Hag is willing to drop this and he's willing to still use him and will still use him. So we'll have to see. Aaron Wan-Bissaka will be a good squad player to defend the lead, especially in big/cup matches. Letting him go is wasteful. I don't know though. What's the point of keeping a player that isn't going to be in the starting 11 for Eric Ten Hag at all, and isn't a player that Eric Ten Hag rates at all? He didn't play him He didn't play him barely in pre-season, and even when he was fit, he never played him. We had the whole incidents of him being named on the bench and then not sitting on the bench and sitting in the stands at the Solskjaer game. I don't think you can keep a player just because he can make a few good tackles. Do you know what I mean? Like, even defensive positionally isn't that great. But don't get me wrong, I will never forget the times where he's pocketed Sterling, pocketed Mbappe. Like, he has been good for us in the past defensively, but I think it's time to move on with a different style of play. And for that, I think Wan-Bissaka does need to go. Dal will have to play deeper when... I've missed that chat. Oh, I've just missed that, but I think I missed that chat anyway, but thank you for pointing in. Ten Hag will bench him again, narrowly win 1-0 and lie to the media that he's an important player after only coming out of the bench the last 10 minutes. No, we don't need that negativity. Ten Hag won't be doing that. I think he will play him. And I think this will all be kind of brushed under the carpet now, and we'll see him play. I think he'll give his best, and hopefully he'll score some goals for us as well. And it can end on a good note. We don't want any negativity regarding Ronaldo and Manchester United as he leaves the club. So hopefully it all will be well. But yeah, we've got Sheriff coming up in the Europa League, press conferences coming out, more content coming out this week. And we've also got games at the weekend as well. The games are in full force now up till the World Cup. So make sure you stick around. We'll have lots more content coming out for you, really good content as well. And thank you everyone in the chat for getting involved. Thank you for your support. Thanks for joining me on a Monday morning. And make sure you like,